Hello everyone. This is Man United Inside again on it. Welcome back again.
Erik Ten Hag has made a demand that Sir Jim Ratcliffe might not accept at Manchester United. Sir Jim Ratcliffe is gaining control of football operations at Man United, and Ineos will change the club's transfer policy. I set requirements in advance about how I want to work, Erik Ten Hag told a Dutch newspaper following his appointment as Manchester United manager in the spring of 2022. If they aren't granted that, I won't do it. I am ultimately responsible and accounted for the results. I don't want to be the sole ruler. I stand for cooperation, but control in transfers is a condition for me. Ten Hag signed Tyrell Malacia, Christian Eriksen, Lisandro Martinez, Antony and Casemiro in his first summer in charge, and only the latter arrived without having once played in the Eredivisie. There were waffles and bottles of Heineken in the press conference room at Old Trafford when Ten Hag was unveiled to the media, and that signaled a Dutch revolution in Manchester for a second time. The difference between Ten Hag and Louis van Gaal is that although the 72-year-old recruited players with their Eredivisie pedigree, his transfer policy was not solely based on signing players from that division. Only Casemiro, Rasmus Højlund, Johnny Evans and Altay Bayindir don't, and anyone who has watched the Eredivisie should know the standard of the division is a world away from the Premier League. It's therefore dangerous to operate with such a Dutch-heavy influenced transfer policy, and that explains why the club's recruitment has continued to be hit and miss over the last 18 months. Antony has been a particularly disastrous signing, and he doesn't reflect well on his manager, who pushed hard to sign him despite Ajax continually increasing their asking price throughout negotiations. Although it's believed scouts first valued Antony at around £25 million and he scored just 8 goals in his final Eredivisie season, the deal worth £85.5 million was agreed, and Ten Hag got his reunion. Just a year and a half since swapping Amsterdam for Manchester, and Antony could be remembered as the worst signing of the last decade. It is beyond belief he commanded such a large price tag. Ten Hag persisted with starting him last season despite his poor performances, but he's become impossible to defend, and, rather remarkably, he hasn't contributed a goal or an assist in this campaign. Sir Jim Ratcliffe once described the £50 million spent on Fred as "dumb money," and it would be fascinating to hear his thoughts on the signing of Antony because his language would likely be colourful. The jury also remains out on Mount, who was signed for an initial £55 million. The midfielder has not looked suited to playing in a deeper role, and it's hoped he can prove growing doubts wrong when he returns from injury. The bottom line is giving Ten Hag, who has a veto of any sayings written in his contract. Such a large influence over transfer hasn't worked, and the recruitment strategy is about to change with Ratcliffe on board. Ratcliffe is gaining control over football operations after agreeing a deal to acquire a minority stake at Old Trafford, and his investment has the potential to transform the club because spending money has never been United's problem, it's been how the millions have been wasted. A manager at an elite club should be guided by the sporting director, not given everything he wants in the sweet shop, although that's not to suggest Ten Hag should have completely no say on transfers. It's only healthy for a manager to be consulted and to have a veto on signings. Ratcliffe is expected to accommodate this, but it certainly seems Ten Hag will have reduced power with transfers. That is a compromise he'll have to accept, and Ten Hag doesn't usually compromise.
Why Andre Onana is staying with Manchester United for 2 more games before AFCON release. Man United will get to keep Andre Onana until the middle of January before he links up with Cameroon for the Africa Cup of Nations. Andre Onana will be available to play for Manchester United against Wigan Athletic in the FA Cup and Tottenham in the Premier League before he leaves to represent Cameroon in the Africa Cup of Nations, AFCON. United and the Cameroonian Football Federation have come to an agreement that will see Onana link up with his international colleagues immediately after the game against Spurs at Old Trafford on Sunday, January 14th. He will arrive in Ivory Coast to be available for Cameroon's opening group game against Guinea, which kicks off 23 hours after United's game will have finished. Premier League clubs were given a deadline of January 1st to release their players for the tournament, and it meant West Ham were without Ghana international Mohamed Kudus for their game with Brighton last night, while Mohamed Salah will link up with Egypt after playing for Liverpool on New Year's Day. But Cameroon officials have agreed to be flexible with Onana's release date due to his desire to show loyalty to United and protect his status as first-choice goalkeeper after a £47 million summer move from Inter Milan. The 27-year-old has played every minute of the season so far, but when he goes away it will hand a chance to £4.2 million backup Altay Bayindir. Onana joined United having retired from international duty after a fallout with Cameroon manager Rigobert Song during the World Cup last year. At the time the deal was concluded, he told the club he wasn't expecting to leave mid-season for AFCON, but he was talked out of retirement by officials within the Cameroon FA. While he is proud to be back in the international fold, he wanted to stay at Old Trafford as long as he could. He is missing Cameroon's pre-tournament training camp in Saudi Arabia and a friendly with Zambia next Tuesday. If Cameroon were to be knocked out in the group stages, it means Onana wouldn't miss any games, as United don't play between January 14th and a potential FA Cup fourth-round fixture on the weekend of January 27th. If they are knocked out in the round of 16, he could be back for the Premier League with Wolves on February 1st, but if the indomitable Lions go all the way, Onana will miss games against Wolves, West Ham and Man United. Transfer imminent, with expert confirming attacker could play over the next week. Jadon Sancho's potential move to Borussia Dortmund from Man United is now imminent, and it is possible that the Englishman will play in Spain this week, according to reports. The Red Devils winger began the season on the bench in their first 3 Premier League matches before Erik Ten Hag dropped him out of the squad completely for their 3-1 loss at Arsenal in early September. Ten Hag insisted it was Sancho's poor performances in training that had cost him his place in the squad, with the England international denying those claims and posting on social media that he was being used as a scapegoat for their bad start to the season. Sancho deleted his post but has since refused to apologize to Ten Hag, his coaching team, for his comments, and he was subsequently banned from first-team facilities by the Man United boss. That has meant that Sancho is certain to leave temporarily in the January transfer window. Juventus, Barcelona, West Ham, Dortmund and Saudi Arabian clubs all linked. But it now appears that Dortmund have won the race to sign Sancho, and Sky Germany reporter Patrick Berger insists that a deal is now imminent. Dortmund have headed off on a mid-season break in Spain, where they will play a number of friendly matches, and, with a deal at the final stages, Berger adds that it's possible that the Englishman will play in Spain this week. Transfer expert Fabrizio Romano insists Sancho has given the green light to Dortmund, and the Bundesliga club want to be fast and sign him now. Romano wrote in his Court Offside column, "Let's start by discussing Jadon Sancho, who is close to leaving Manchester United. This is something already decided some months ago after his relationship with the club was broken, with Erik Ten Hag and the whole coaching staff." After initial interest from Juventus, talks are now ongoing between Borussia Dortmund and Manchester United for Sancho. He could return to his former club on loan. They can't make it permanent. Dortmund have to find a way to make a loan deal work, and so the clubs are discussing the details of the deal, such as loan fee and salary coverage.